I want to talk a little bit about body mechanics before we go any further. Someone else, can I borrow you for a second? Hold your hand up. You don't have any finger injuries, right?
No, his pinky's not so great, but I'm okay.
That finger, okay.
Not yet. I had to say it before you did.
I was
Not
not
yet. There's going to be some injuries.
Great minds think alike.
What just happened?
Technically, rolling forward.
Right. Don't call me sir, please, sir. You call me Jason. Right. If I do it again slowly, same thing happens. Right. You went forward, but what's really happening? What's really happening? Yeah. What's really happening is his brain is saying, I don't want my fingers to break. Right? Actually, can I borrow you? So what happens is, as I bend his fingers up, as soon as these fingers get to the limit of this joint, the body takes over and tries to compensate, tries to get out of it. So it goes to the wrist first. And then when that wrist is extended as far as possible, then it goes to the elbow. Then if you're still feeling pain, it goes to the waist and it goes to the knees. That's why when you do this to someone, chances are they're going to end up in a position like this, because your body follows it. Your body tries to get out of the pain. Okay? That's the difference between a lot of judo techniques, most judo techniques, and jujutsu techniques, is that in order to get your opponent off balance, you are causing pain in order to do so. So kuzushi is based on having your brain respond to pain. It also uses a lot of atemi, which is striking, but striking not intended to harm your opponent. It's just intended to instantly take that will to fight away from them, to give you an opportunity to apply your technique. That's the definition of atemi in its most basic sense of the word. So let me show you some fundamentals. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Let's talk a little bit more about body mechanics. Can I borrow you?
Bad left knee.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Please let me know. Let me know what's bad. Do you have any shoulder, anything like that? Shoulder injuries, something like that. The extremities on a person's body are very sensitive. Your fingers are probably the most sensitive parts of your bodies, outside of your lips, actually. Which means that if I bend your finger up, you feel pain. You feel a sharp, intense pain. As I go into the body, as I go to the elbow, or the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, the pain becomes more dull, but at the same time, you gain more control. So for example, if I were to like grab one finger and said, get away from me, it's very easy. If I grab your wrist and say the same thing, very easy. As I come in here closer, it's more difficult, but not impossible. Same thing here. If I get in here, it's even more impossible. And if I get here and say, get away from me, you can't, pretty much. Because there are no joints involved. This controls your whole body. So, in order to control a person, you have to limit the amount of joints that you're controlling, because that gives them no way to escape. That's one concept. The other concept is the idea of limiting your own body joints when you're applying a technique, because that gives you more strength, gives you more power. If you were to grab my wrist, grab that hand. If I was going to get away from him using a jujutsu technique, the first thing that I would do is bring my elbow in and lock it to the side of my body. Because as soon as I do that, it gives me the strength of my entire body as opposed to just my shoulder. So I would bring that in here. And then if I move this way, I escape. Because I'm using the whole force and leverage of my body on his fingers. So he's going to know where to go. Now if I was going to apply this with a atemi at the same time, what I do is when I bring the shoulder, when I bring the elbow to the side of my body here, at the same time, I strike at his eyes. And that disorients the opponent. You don't know what's going on. And then I move in here. And I apply a wrist lock, and I give him room to fall. It's a very important concept. I don't throw you. I give you room to fall on your own. I make it easier for you to fall. This is as opposed to, this, it's kind of hard to see, but the wrist technique that I used is called kotegaeshi. You see it very often in Aikido, but usually when you see an Aikido, they take it and, they throw the guy over like that. The way that I just do it is, instead of trying to throw, the whole idea is, when I do this, you're probably going to pull the resisting come here, and at the same time, I come back and I bring this into my body. I provide a support structure for the technique, and it also immobilizes him because he can't escape. As opposed to if I was just holding his wrist here, like we spoke about earlier, I'd be using my shoulders and my elbows to control his arm. And if he's a stronger gentleman than me, he'd probably be able to get out of it a lot easier. But if I bring this into my waist, I'm trying to hold out. It's very effective. If I bring it into my waist and lock it there, there's really not much you can do.